thank you all for tuning in to Black Video News today. Today's a special report. I'm joined with prominent attorney Richard Ryles out of West Palm Beach and Stuart, Florida. Mr. Ryles, I want to thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Keith. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks for joining me. Let's go right into it, Attorney Ryles. What needs to take place throughout the country when we talk about policing in these police departments?
Well, Keith, I think that we have reached a critical tipping point in modern policing. I think that there need to be some wholesale changes in not only the qualifications of police officers, but in the way that police departments investigate themselves. I think that the federal government is probably at a point where they should step in and create a department or a force of officers who investigate police departments whenever there are allegations of misdeeds or criminal allegations against police officers by citizens. I think that that's the only way that we can again gain trust in our departments, especially with the extensive number of police brutality lawsuits. Additionally, I think that there are probably some things that need to be done in the screening of police officers. Currently, my practice is built around bringing lawsuits against police departments and officers who have engaged in brutality. And so what I have found is many times that the department will conduct a psychological examination which determines whether or not a person has a propensity for violence or aggressiveness, but there are no tests that are currently being utilized on a widespread basis to determine whether or not a police officer may have some racial bias that they harbor that affects their decisions and their ability to be a fair and impartial public servant.
Yeah, since we're on that topic, when we talk about policing throughout the police stations in this country, also I wanted to talk about too, I wanted to add a note on there has to be some type of diversity program set in too, because a lot of these police departments are in African American communities, predominantly African American, and also predominantly white police officers on the police force. So how do we add diversity programs in these police departments, Attorney Ryles?
Well, I think that you're correct in the assessment that the number of the departments have predominantly white officers and they're policing predominantly African American or Hispanic neighborhoods. That is a problem. And one of the major problems that I have seen through my years of practice is that every department that you encounter that I have had to bring a lawsuit against has a different standard and qualifications for the officers that they hire. And so I think that there probably needs to be some uniformity in the hiring criteria and the hiring standards, because one department, the psychological test that I've seen would be an officer would not be allowed to be hired where he can go less than 5 miles away and get in another jurisdiction and he's perfectly okay. We have a case down here recently where a young man was killed by an off-duty police officer who was still on probation, but that officer had been terminated from another department and there were several departments that refused to hire him, but he went to a smaller department that had a little less stringent requirements, and unfortunately a young man met with his early demise because of the aggressiveness of this officer.
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with that case down there in South Florida. Also, I want to add a note too also, now we're talking about the situation in Dallas where police officers getting killed. I think we need to revisit gun laws too, because I know years ago in the state of Florida, they changed that gun law. I remember there was a 10 to 20 or something to life gun law. What's your opinion on revisiting these laws when we talk about guns throughout the country?
Well, I think that, I'm not a fan of the NRA by any stretch of the imagination. When the Second Amendment was proposed as part of our Constitution, the people who had guns had single-shot repeaters, and they would have to clean out the barrel of the gun after the single shot. And so you couldn't fire off 52 shots in a matter of seconds like the guns we have today. So I think that as the Constitution evolves and as laws and people evolve and technology evolves, we have to change our laws to fit the circumstances that we currently find ourselves in. And so I certainly believe that there needs to be some tailoring down of the rights of gun owners in this country. One only needs to look to Europe. And I just recently came back from Europe, and although the officers are now beginning to carry guns because of the terrorist effect, but the number of gun deaths per year is exponentially less than that which we have here in the United States. And it's primarily because all the citizens don't have guns.
Also, Attorney Ryles, there's a lot of people in these crowds when a lot of these police brutality acts are taking place. How are people supposed to sit back, man, and not defend themselves or even go up against injustice when we talk about these incidents?
Well, Keith, that's a very difficult question to answer. I think that we cannot devolve into a lawless society, and we have to do what's necessary in order to maintain law and order. But I think that, as Malcolm X said, is that in order to be a man, you have to protect yourself. And if that means an eye for an eye, sometimes you need to utilize what's available to you to protect yourself, because I certainly would not want to end up like the young man in Michigan or the young man in Louisiana.
Yeah, Minnesota. And what are the people in the community, what kind of response are you getting in the community down there in Southwest Florida?
Well, we had a rally here, a town hall meeting, a few days ago, and certainly everybody, it's very disconcerting when you see this number of police shootings that end in death. It's hit home, and what we have seen, which I think is par for the course across the nation, is that the people who are hired to protect us and the people who are hired to prosecute those who engage in wrongdoing are living in the same quarters. And so we have a problem with the state attorney here that refuses to believe that police officers engage in wrongdoing, and we have a police officer that is overzealous when it comes to restricting the rights of African Americans and people of Hispanic descent. And so we are very troubled, and the people have begun to take to the streets in order to address these issues. And you know, I have some suggestions related to that, but you know, that might be for discussion another day.
Well, Attorney Ryles, I want to thank you. We'll be staying in contact also, but I want to thank you for taking the time out to talk to us here at Black Video News, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. That's Richard Ryles, prominent attorney in Southwest Florida, West Palm Beach, and Stuart, Florida. Keith Scott, Black Video News.